ladies?
Fern's ready.
Fern's ready. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thanks to everybody that's joining us online or watching this later. I'm Dr. Kelly Sadowskis, a pelvic floor physical therapist. I have been a pelvic floor PT for 20 years, and it is my passion. I love helping people, especially women, navigate the changes of life and empower you to help reduce any pelvic problem you might have. Like you guys, like you guys that are here, I'm fortunate enough to live in this beautiful valley. And I have a clinical practice up in Driggs, and I post silly videos on Instagram and sell online courses. I'm so excited to be here today.
And I'm Lindsay Jones. I was a wildlife biologist here for over 15 years and just switched over to nutrition and integrative health. I have my own practice, Idaho Integrative Wellness, and I can see anyone from anywhere, virtually or in person. So yeah, it's great to be here.
It's awesome. And Lindsay's tips can do so much for optimizing overall health as well as pelvic health. So we're so excited to have her here. And Whitney is the owner of this lovely bookstore. Thank you for hosting this event. Everybody come down to Violet Volumes and grab a book or a fizzy beverage. Okay. All right. So we're going to get started. We are extremely formal here, just so you guys know. I have notes. I prepared. These were my notes when Lindsay and I practiced, and I was like, it was perfect. So we'll just leave it like that. So how many people know about their pelvic floors here? Have you ever heard of it? Yeah, cool. We all have one. It's really neat. And it's amazing how little most of us know about the pelvis, even those of us that have made and had babies or had surgeries or fractures. So this is Patty, the pelvis. She's a pelvis with traditionally female anatomy. We've got our low back here, our lowest lumbar spine, and our two hip bones, and then our sacrum and back. And how many of you guys here have had back pain in their life? Okay, when you look around, that same number of people will have had a pelvic problem in their life. Exact same incidence of back pain and pelvic problems. But we don't talk about the pelvic problems because they're personal, and maybe we think it's embarrassing, and maybe we think it's just us. But it's not. 8 of 10 of us are going to deal with this at some point in our life, which is why it's so important that we understand and we know how to talk about it, so it's not a big deal. So Patty, those bony parts, we can have pain in our low back. We can have sciatica. We could have pain in the crotch part in front, just with normal life, with pregnancy or delivery. And yes, we can have pee, poop, or intimate problems. And usually it's the muscles that contribute to those problems more so than the actual bones. So let's take a deep dive into Patty and see where those muscles are. Inside the bony pelvis, the first thing that you'll notice, and I will pass these around if you want, or you can come up and grab them and ask any questions you have. Inside the bony pelvis, we have our 3 primary pelvic organs. The rectum is settled in back, and even though it's showed like up and down in most anatomical models, in real life it's actually kinked off to the side, and usually your left-hand side. So frankly, it's phenomenally interesting that we ever can poop normally in the first place, much less after babies or after an injury. Right in front of the rectum, we have the vagina, which has the uterus and 2 ovaries on top. Usually we only have 1 vag and uterus. It's possible to have 2 though. It's a really interesting thing. And then if that is you, sometimes you have problems with conception or carrying babies. So it's a fascinating little factoid. And then in front of the uterus, we have the little urethra, which is the hole for pee. And here's the bladder. These organs are a little smaller than in real life, but the relative size is very accurate. So look at that little urethra, right? And then the pelvic muscles, they form this amazing hammock that goes from the front of the sacrum to the back of the pubic bone. And I'll pass Patty around here in just 1 second. This huge, beautiful hammock of muscles. And just like you have a right leg and a left leg with tons of different muscles, it's not just 1 pelvic floor muscle on each side, my friends. It's more than 12 per side. Like, how crazy is that? And they each have different life histories, when you sprained your knee when you were 8, and you hurt your back when you were 24, and you had a baby when you were 28. Some of these muscles work to like stabilize you so you can stand on one leg and run and do yoga and Pilates. Other things help control the rectum for poop, and the vag for intimacy, and the urethra for pee. And just like when you hurt your knee, your brain kind of gets a little weird and tries to protect you by ignoring your muscles of your knee, and you end up with a weak quad and a tight hamstring. When you start to have pain or problems in the pelvis, or a challenge of having a baby or a fracture, the brain tries to protect you by ignoring the pain. But what it ends up ignoring is the position sense of the muscles, and it ends up using too little of the tummy and too much of these pelvic muscles. And that's what most of the problems come from. So has anyone here ever heard that like it's normal to leak pee a little as you get older? Yeah, or like it's normal to like have problems pooping after a baby. Yeah, those are all really common things to think, and they can be common if we don't help your brain reconnect to these muscles. They're not normal consequences of aging. Just like there are very real exercises to help with your knee for knee pain, there are very easy real exercises to help with this pelvic floor to reduce pain with periods, pain with intimacy, to reduce pee leaks and urges, and to make pooping not so urgent, to make it easier and not so painful. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is what those exercises are. So 90,000 foot view of Patty the pelvis. Does that kind of make sense? What's in our pelvis and around? Cool. And again, let me just show this side. Oops, I drop that every day I use this. I mean, seriously? Let me just, the dog's going to eat it now. Just appreciate for a minute like how skinny these little muscles are. They cause so much problems for like how little they can be. Oh, Lindsay, thank you. Thank you so much. So in the scheme of things, the most common reason that women come to me in pelvic PT is for pee problems, or because we're having a baby or have had a baby. And in general, they come in and they say, well, I've been doing my kegels and I'm not getting any better. And that's because the tightness wasn't actually the problem. It was more of that disconnect. And when the brain tried to ignore those pain signals and it told the tummy to do less, and now everything's pushing on this cute little bladder, and the pelvic floor to do more, which is irritating that bladder, that's created this environment for us to have these pee or poop problems. So I'm going to teach you some exercises on how to fix that. Who's ready? I'm going to hand out these very specialized pieces of rehab equipment. Linz, if you can hand these out, they're hand towels. And we're going to fold them in half. And we're going to roll them like this, and we're all going to sit on them. So it's not weird because everybody's doing it. Here we go. Let me. That's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, I know. Very specialized PT hand towels. And you're gonna roll them up. Let me see, can you do yours in half? Yep. And then roll it up in a little circle. So it's like $half size. Perfect.
Do you want this one, Kelly?
Since I'm not gonna sit, but yeah, I will, thank you. So we're gonna, we can kind of do like so, and like so. And we end up with about this much space. And we are going to put this right under our perineum. And we're going to have some pressure on our vag and some pressure on our rectum, ladies. Yep, vertically. I know. We're all going to do it together. Those of you at home. And what we want, and the reason we're sitting on this is not that I think you're going to pee your pants, but if you've never learned about your pelvic floor before, your brain has no idea how to find it. So everyone who's sitting on it, can we feel a little bit of pressure in these muscles? And it doesn't hurt, right? Because if it actually hurts, that's too much pressure, and you need a smaller roll, a softer chair, or if we're like up on those stools, can we put our feet on the stools to just unload just a bit? And it's kind of surprising sometimes. We're like, ooh, that is a little sassy. Woo! So we just want to make sure that we can feel it, but it doesn't hurt. This towel is now giving tactile pressure, touch pressure to these pelvic floor muscles so the brain has a chance to find them. And the pelvic floor specifically is like an elevator. Hello, welcome. Right up front. So good to see you. The pelvic floor is like an elevator in a 4-story building, and it's meant to live on the ground floor. And when we're resting, it should just kind of chill down there. And then we stand up and it goes up to like the 1st floor. And we run and we do something rad and it like goes up to the 4th floor and then back down, and then we chill and we sit again and it relaxes all the way back down. But when we have that pain or pelvic problem and the brain kind of disconnects, this pelvic floor starts to rest on the 3rd floor all the time, and we don't know that's happening. So we're all sitting on this towel here to give our brain a target to find these muscles. So the first exercise is called relaxed breathing. And if you want to grab a towel, you totally can. I have one. Or you can just watch. It's okay. It's just relaxed breathing. So we are going to try to soften our tummy, and we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to take a nice deep breath in to the lower tummy, and then breathe back out. Your first check is to see, can we get the breath into this lower tummy? Because if it's been a stressful day, sometimes we might be breathing up into our neck, and that's okay. Just note it and try to get the breath down here. And once we have the breath in the belly, take note to how your belly is moving. It gets bigger with each inhale and smaller with each exhale. And you're not forcing it. It just kind of happens naturally, right? We inhale, the belly gets bigger, we exhale, it comes back. Now, the same thing, if your pelvic floor is resting on this ground floor, that same thing would happen. We would inhale, and just as your belly gets bigger, your pelvic muscles will expand down into this towel. And then we would exhale, belly gets smaller, and the pelvic floor comes back up to the ground floor. Inhale, belly gets bigger, pelvic floor comes down. Exhale, belly gets smaller, pelvic floor rebounds. But if we're having a pee poop or intimate problem and the pelvic floor is resting up on the 3rd floor, we don't really want it to, well, just oscillating is better than nothing, right? But we want to inhale and send the pelvic floor down towards the towel. And then we want to exhale, belly comes in. Can you keep your pelvic floor down by that towel? It's really challenging. And most of us ladies, the first time we try this, it's really hard to do because our brain hasn't had practice connecting to this muscles. It forgets that it actually has control over both sides. So the elevator analogy is helpful to understand what's meant to happen. The other visualization can also be a blossoming or a little pelvic rose, we call it. So as we inhale and the belly gets softer, the urethral rose, vag rose, and rectal rose kind of blossom down into the towel. Exhale, belly gets smaller, but the roses stay blossomed. I have a video of me coaching you in this. If you're interested in it, just touch base with me afterwards and I can share it with you. It's a really cool thing to practice, and for a lot of ladies, it makes a huge difference in their pelvises. So that's the first exercise to connect, finding those pelvic floor muscles and seeing if we can relax them. Second exercise, how often are we relaxed in our day-to-day life? Like not too often, right? Normally we're upright and moving. And so as soon as we go to stand, the tummy needs to engage, but standing and walking is generally considered an easy task. So the pelvic floor should stay towards that ground floor. So we've just got the pelvic floor down to the ground floor. Maybe we can any of you feel it kind of like moving with that breath? Yeah? Cool, good job. If we can't feel it yet, just imagine and be curious that we can't feel it, and that will give your brain permission to rewire. There's some tattooing happening in the back. If you guys can hear the tattoo, I love it. I asked them to give me a pelvis tattoo later. They might. Okay, sorry. I know, right? Right here. Can we do a vulva? No, I have to, a lot of explaining to do to my husband for that one. Okay, relax your belly again. Relax the pelvic floor down towards that ground floor. Second exercise, we've got the pelvic floor touching this towel. Can you please keep the pelvic floor on that ground level while you find your deepest, lowest tummy muscle between your tummy and your pubic bone? And can you gently scoop that muscle up and in? So the sweet little bladder that's in front, we're hugging it up towards our spine. Okay, challenge 1, can you breathe? Active abs and breathe in. I know, everybody's active abs and breathe out. This is showing your brain that in fact your diaphragm's job is to breathe and not to support your low back. And that there are different muscles, your deep core, that can lift and support the bladder, that can support the spine while you still breathe. Relax everything. Over time, the second part of that is that your sweet little rectum needs to stay relaxed too. So that pelvic floor stays super relaxed on that towel while the abs draw in. And that's like challenging stuff, but it's going to make all the difference in the world to reduce the overuse of the pelvic muscles. And one thing, go ahead, relax everything. One thing I kind of skipped over is it makes sense how tight muscles cause pain, and how they could cause constipation and painful intimacy because, like the doors are closed. Sometimes it's confusing for ladies to understand how tight muscles can cause leaks or frequent pees or anxious pees. And it's because these muscles are so tight, they're irritating all these nerves. And so they're making the bladder more reactive. And then, since they're always up on this third or this fourth floor, when we actually need them, if I want to jump on a trampoline or run after my kids, if they're always on the fourth floor, they don't have any energy left. They're just tired and they're going to fail. And like you could all see this if we went to walk up the stairs and down the stairs, we could. But what if we sat in a wall sit for 8 hours? Then it would be really hard to go up and down the stairs. So that's why this part is so important. Good job. All right, one more. Those of you that can tolerate still sitting on the towel, we got one more exercise, and it is your kegel and relax. Kegels, just telling you to do kegels is crap. They have an equal chance of harm as of help because just telling you to do kegels lacked all of the context that I just shared with you. You have no idea that the problem is that the muscles are actually too tight. So sharing this context now, the kegel is not crap. And the purpose is that we are going to do the kegel to try to relax afterwards. So pelvic floor is touching the towel. Picture 3 little holes, rectum, vag, and urethra. We are going to lift and scoop up away from the towel. I know you can move your eyebrows if you want. It doesn't help, but it seems like it does. Hold 3, 2, 1, and then relax back down. Try your best to relax for 3, 2, 1, and then soften your tummy and take 2 of those relaxed breaths. And most of us might sense that the pelvic floor came up towards the 4th floor, but then it didn't really come down when we asked it to. And that's, again, interesting. Taking those relaxed breaths helps it come back to its kind of more normal home base. Let's try it one more time. Kegel up and in. Try to drink a milkshake with each of the holes. Drink, drink, drink. Hold 3, 2, 1. And now stop drinking. Let them relax back down. 2, 1. And then please deliberately relax your belly. Beautiful. Doing that Kegel and relax helps the brain recognize that these muscles exist and where they are in space, and it makes the first 2 exercises easier. So those very simple but very specific exercises are like the foundation of your core. And if we don't have good connection to each of those, that's usually the number one reason why we have pee poop or sexy time problems, or we just can't really thrive. So it's a very important thing to work on. And I'm glad that I got to teach you today. So, any questions? Or so many questions? All right, well, I will then hand over the floor to the beautiful Miss Jones to chat about nutrition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Do you want me to hand up those?
Oh, you don't have to.
You can come. I won't. Here, I'll sit like right in front, so you don't have to.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. So I'm going to kind of basically
Oh,
cover.
you guys can come off your towels now if you haven't already.
Yeah, do you want to pick them up? Or
I'll get them later.
I'm going to cover basic nutrition for women, and I'm kind of start with basics and then kind of go chronologically in order of some of the main things that we experience throughout our lifetime. Way too much to cover. And I have a ton of notes. So I apologize if I'm basically reading off of it. So yeah, we'll just start with the basics. So we can break our food down into macronutrients and micronutrients. And macronutrients contain things like carbohydrates, grains, beans, fruits, vegetables, milk, and yogurt. And then we've got protein, the second group of macros, which includes meat and seafood, dairy, tofu, beans, dark leafy vegetables. And then we have fats such as salmon, trout, flaxseed oil, eggs, butter, avocados. And then micronutrients are basically all the vitamins and minerals that are in these foods and also found in our body. We need all of our macronutrient categories daily in our diet. So some people want to do 100% protein all day. That is not cool. We are not getting what we need. Based on calculations, which we won't go into, but I do a calculation of what your body needs for calories per day. And from those calories, I generally like to take 45% of those in just carbohydrates, 35% would be protein, and then 20% would be healthy fats. Everyone has very different needs when it comes to these. It depends on what your health goals are and all of your calculations and what conditions you might have. So it's not going to be that simple. But as a general rule of thumb, we want to be getting 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day in our diet. Fiber speaks volumes. Like we need a lot of fiber. We want to be pooping very regularly. And if your poop is weird, which we won't go into, but I have plenty of charts and we talk about it. I'm like, what's your poop like today? Yeah, maybe you're not getting enough fiber.
I have a blog post with pictures. You're
welcome. And then we want to be drinking about half of our body weight in ounces of water per day. That's really crucial. The major things that can cause disruption in our bodies, I think, are things like inflammation, insulin sensitivity, hormones, and then also genetics, environmental factors, age. They all have a massive impact on our health, but there's so much that we can do to actually control. So next, we want to be eating foods that contain fewer ingredients with the shortest shelf life possible, if that makes sense. And then we also want to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in our body as much as we can. So oxidative stress, if you haven't heard of it, is a condition that occurs basically when the body has too many unstable molecules and we don't, they're actually called free radicals, maybe you've heard of that, but then we don't have enough antioxidants to neutralize them. And so this leads to cell and tissue damage in the body. And that leads to a lot of other issues. So we also want to avoid processed and refined foods if we can, buy organic when possible. I know it's really expensive. We can work on diets that you have $50 a month for food. We can make it happen. But that's really important. Avoid hormone disrupting chemicals. So things like pesticides, parabens, which preserve a lot of our foods and personal care products. Heavy metals, which are in a lot of cosmetic and personal care products. PFAS, which are found in like nonstick cookware and water-resistant clothing even. And then BPAs, which are found in like canned foods and like some sports water bottles, although a lot of companies have kind of moved away from that. We also want to try to get 10 to 30 minutes of sun per day without sunblock and without sunblocking clothing on. It's super important. You can even absorb sunlight through your eyeballs. So if you want to walk outside with no sunglasses on, do it. It's super important. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about something really important, the gut microbiome. And we're going to start with gut permeability. So imagine your gut as a filter, right? And it allows good things like nutrients from our food to pass through the filter while keeping the harmful things out. But sometimes this filter becomes really loose. And when that happens, it's called leaky gut. Or get like increased gut permeability. So have anybody heard of leaky gut syndrome? Yeah, okay. Most people probably. Okay. Okay, so I'm breaking it down as simple as I can because Kelly was like, you're not at the level that we need for anyone to understand. Okay, so we have a protein called zonulin that helps control how tight this filter is in our bodies. And so when things go wrong, like we have a bad diet or increased gut or bacteria in our gut, too much of this protein zonulin can be released. And this causes this filter to loosen, and then it lets unwanted substances get out into our bloodstream. And then this is where problems really begin. So normally under healthy conditions, our gut does a great job of letting good things in and keeping bad things out. But our immune system really works in harmony with our gut, which is important to know. So if our gut bacteria gets out of balance, like gluten is a main cause, or we're exposed to too many germs, the gut can start producing too much of this zonulin, and that weakens this gut barrier. And so when harmful substances sneak through, they can trigger our immune system, and that causes inflammation. So this is our body's way of fighting back, essentially, but sometimes it can overreact and cause chronic problems. So if this keeps happening, it can lead to diseases like celiac, IBS, type 1 diabetes, ADHD, even autism. Basically, our bodies just start attacking themselves. So maintaining a healthy gut is very crucial, and eating a balanced diet, getting enough probiotics, fermented foods, all these things can really help to reduce stress and keep our gut in check. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that our gut plays a huge role in our immune system. And so if you notice that you might be having, like, let's say you eat this one food all the time and you're like, man, I have to poop immediately after that. Or, you just start noticing things, or you just have this chronic condition that you just can't figure it out. It's really important to kind of pay attention to what you might be sensitive to. There's a ton of testing that you can do, but it can really play a big stress in the chronic inflammatory conditions that we have. So, okay, we're going to move on to preconception for anybody that might be interested in trying to conceive. Even with perfect timing and healthy partners, it can still take up to 6 months to conceive. Maximum fertility rate per cycle is only about 30% as it is. And again, that's if everything is perfect. And then like our egg and sperm are a very nutrient intensive process. So again, this word oxidative stress can really harm our eggs and our sperm, and this is where nutrients really come into play. Nutritive herbs provide nutrients often missing from the diet and are really required for optimal fertility. We have things like nettle leaf, oat straw, red clover, antioxidant herbs like green tea, like 3 to 5 cups a day. That's just all around the board, not even just for preconception, but it's huge. And then a lot of people ask about prenatal vitamins. Prenatal vitamins are going to be the ones that a person can be most consistent with. It doesn't matter as much about the brand. More is not better when it comes to any certain nutrients or herb supplements that you're trying to take. Some people think, oh, I should really triple what the doctor says with fish oil or whatever. No, you really want to follow the bottle and what it says. So if someone is trying to conceive, you really want to start taking a prenatal about 4 months before trying to conceive, even up to like 1 year. It takes 3 months on average for an ovum or egg to really mature. So you really want to start preparing as early as you can. I'm not going to read because I did put dosages on there, so I won't read exactly what you need, but we want to focus on things like folate, iron, vitamin D, choline, omega-3 fatty acids, like fish oil. And then, of course, conditions that can affect fertility, PCOS, endometriosis, disordered eating, stress. It can be something from the sperm that your partner has. Way too many things to address in this presentation. So now I'm going to talk about stress, because I'm sure we're all stressed out a lot. Things that can cause stress: injury, infection, poor diet, bad posture, inadequate sleep, overuse of antibiotics, financial hardships, family conflict, unemployment, exposure to toxins. Here's that word again: excess oxidation. Anxiety is often a reaction to stress. This is mind-blowing, 75 to 90% of human diseases are related to activation of our stress response system. That's huge. Wow. So it's very important to keep our stress levels down. It can impact things like our blood sugar. We can have weight gain, elevated blood pressure, increased inflammation, hormone imbalances, alterations in our gut microbiome, changes in mental health. So some recommendations. I'm sure we all think we know what we do, we can do to limit stress. We don't always do it. I'm really bad at it, but on average, maybe 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 minutes a week of vigorous exercise. Just 10 minutes of stretching after working out over like 3 months has shown to reduce anxiety, body pain, and exhaustion. Things like vitamin C and magnesium are super helpful. Fatty acids, probiotics, and those fermented foods like kimchi, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut. And then supplements like ashwagandha, chamomile, lavender, valerian root. Those are all really helpful in reducing stress. Sleep is huge. Those who sleep 5 hours or less have increased levels of perceived stress versus those who sleep longer. Quality sleep is really quality sleep. You can get away with less, but 7 to 8 hours is really what you want to aim for. And if you're waking up in the middle of the night to pee a lot, maybe go talk to Kelly. But that affects your sleep. So yeah, avoiding large meals, reduce your bedroom temperature, darken your room. You want balanced nutrition, reduction of artificial light before you go to bed, so no scrolling on your Instagram. Meditation, mindfulness, journaling. There's mobile apps like Calm, Headspace, Hallow, Amen. Spending time in nature, digital fasting, which means let's take a little break from social media. Decluttering and organizing, hobbies, goal setting, volunteering, physical touch is huge. Just overall self-care and really trying to keep rhythms in our body going, whether that's your sleep or your eating habits or even intimacy, whatever. Just keeping that constant rhythm in your body is important. So now we're going to talk about perimenopause and menopause. Woo-hoo. So estrogen and progesterone levels are two of the main hormones involved in our menstrual cycle. And they fluctuate regularly throughout our cycle and kind of keep the balance in check. Perimenopause can start as early as 37, and the first thing that happens is that progesterone levels start to decrease, and then estrogen, there's nothing to regulate our estrogen. And so this is what really causes the first symptoms of perimenopause, such as irregular periods, mood changes, sleep problems. So we really want to look at first starting on progesterone if we suspect or know that we have or we are going into perimenopause. And then menopause is the ultimate reduction of estrogen over the course of up to 10 years, followed by the end of menstruation. It's associated with an increase in abdominal fat and increased risk of cardiovascular disease and also accelerated loss of bone mass. The average onset of menopause is 51, and a good barometer is when your last spontaneous menstrual cycle was about 12 months ago. So if you haven't had anything in about 12 months, you might be in active menopause. Symptoms include obviously hot flashes, night sweats, palpitations, mood swings, anxiety, fatigue, thinning hair, all the fun stuff. Low libido, that's even worse. Lab analysis, a good test would be like your FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone. So interventions, we can do things like black cohosh, vitamin E, maca root, fish oils, omega-3s, isoflavones, which are mainly found in like soybeans and legumes, that can help relieve a lot of menstrual symptoms. They moderate like hot flashes, they slow bone loss, they improve your lipid profile and your blood pressure. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, flaxseed is really great as well. That also helps with hot flashes. And then the last one is osteoporosis. So a weird thing that might start happening is it's otherwise asymptomatic, but you might start having really weird backaches, like really painful backaches. It's common in postmenopausal women and men who are older than 70. You can experience a decrease in height. Peak bone mass that we have is around 28 years old, and then it's slowly lost at a rate of about 0.4% a year. And then after menopause, the loss accelerates to 2% per year for the first 5 to 10 years. So yeah, we can, where's this back? A lot we can do. Protein's really important. We want to reduce alcohol consumption as much as possible because that can actually increase our risk of daily falls and hip fractures. But moderate alcohol somehow kind of lowers risk hip fractures in older women because it inhibits bone resorption by increasing estradiol levels and calcitonin excretion. Isn't that wild?
Fascinating. Never heard that before.
Drink your wine, everyone. Bone mineral density testing is the optimal method to confirm the diagnosis of osteoporosis. We want to focus on things like calcium, magnesium, vitamin D3. omega-3s, and really just optimize our peak bone mass during our younger years and then minimize subsequent bone loss in our older years. Things like exercise, weight-bearing exercises, even 4 times a week, and strength training, even twice a week, can really help minimize bone loss. 1 hour of moderate activity 3 times a week prevents bone loss. Muscle strengthening and balancing reduces our risk of falls by 75% in women 75 or older. Weight-bearing activities like Tai Chi and walking, strength training like barbells or resistance bands, which Kelly has a ton of, if you want to get her. And then diet, focus on dark green leafy vegetables like kale, collard greens, parsley, lettuce, and green tea. Again, there's that 3 to 5 cups a day that stimulates osteoblast activity. And then adequate calcium, vitamin D, vitamin K, and magnesium. And I think I listed specifics on there. So that's all. And I'm sorry that we can't cover every condition that we possibly go through in our lifetime. But yeah, do you want to just start with questions?
Sure, I'll come back up to you. I did bar class 3 days ago. I can still barely walk. Do you guys have any questions for us? Yes, my darling. Hi.
Do you recommend the calcium amount in like the perimenopause stage as well?
Yeah.
So that about that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll triple check. I can get in touch with you, but it's not going to hurt by any means. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's the famous adage is like the best time for us ladies to have started weightlifting was in our 20s, and the second best time is right now. Like whenever we are, it's just never too late to start. And you can a PT, someone like me, or a personal trainer that knows what they're doing, absolutely get the help to build the confidence. They're going to teach you to fish so then you know how to build a functional weightlifting program. I have a doctorate in physical therapy. I did not know how to build a functional weight training program till about 5 years ago. So don't assume that I should already know how to do this. It's okay if you don't. Go to the people that you know and they can help you. And it's kind of it's really fun once you get into it. There's 7 key movements: squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, rotate, counter rotate. And you just want to make sure you do one of those things within every 2-week period. And so it's kind of fun to come up with new challenges and use our bodies as we're meant to. Any other questions?
When you list calcium and magnesium for osteoporosis, are you talking about start taking them now preventatively?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Again, it's not going to hurt. But yeah, and just again maximizing. You're young, so maximize your peak bone mass right now, and that's going to prevent bone loss in the future. So again, the strength training is huge, resistance training, all that fun stuff.
And I just said, somebody like me or a trainer could teach you about weightlifting. Lindsay, what if I don't know what kind of foods have calcium or magnesium? Is there anyone who could help me figure out what those?
You could probably come to me and I can help you out. I normally would list that kind of stuff. There's just no room.
I don't know.
On
Okay.
these, so yes, I can tell you all the foods you need.
Yeah, so a nutritionist could help with this. And sometimes our primary care providers, bless their hearts, they're so overwhelmed. They might not have the training and they might not have the time to go over these things. So seek out the resource. Even here in this little tiny mountain town, we have a functional medicine nutritionist. How cool is that?
And I always I really liked for people to get the most of their nutrients from the foods themselves, but it's sometimes physically impossible. You'd be eating so much. We don't all have that kind of time. So that's when supplements come into play. And you just do what you can to optimize your nutrient intake. So yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question. If for someone that's considering having kids in the future, is there something that you can do to help your pelvic floor before that?
Oh yes. Call
Go
me.
see her.
Yeah, go see me. But honestly, even just those big 3 exercises that we just did to connect to the pelvic floor, absolutely. And there's even been studies so that helps by improving the local blood flow to the whole region. When we soften the pelvic floor, it improves blood flow to the uterus. There's been studies that show that pelvic floor physio even helps when we're doing IVFers out there having trouble conceiving. It helps improve blood flow, and the manual work to the tummy helps mobilize things. I have one of my cool toys right here. I made this at the Glow Forge at the library. It was so fun. It's anatomy of a cesarean section, but it shows all the layers of our amazing bellies. And there's our skin and our fat and our fascia and our muscles and more fascia and organs. All of this stuff in our life can get inflamed, like Lindsay was talking about. We also could maybe have an injury where we get hit in the stomach. And adhesions here can make conception difficult because things can't move like they're meant to, or it could cause painful periods. It could cause pee problems because it's pushing the bladder to the side, or a prolapse because it's pushing the uterus out of the abdomen. It's fascinating stuff. So pelvic floor connection and then like learning how to massage your belly are two of the best things. And then from the nutrition standpoint, like just everything that Lindsay said about stress management.
Yeah.
Great question.
I was going to ask, I don't know if you have an answer to this, but a sleep question. In terms of quality of sleep, I have this fancy watch and it tells me I get like a certain amount of REM, light, and deep sleep. Do you know like what like a good amount of each type of sleep is?
That's a great question. I don't, but that's something I would look into. I actually just ordered a ring. It's not the Aura ring, but it's like a vitality thing, but I wanted it because it measures all of that plus blood pressure, and it's in the mail, and I'm really excited to get it. So I'm hoping to learn way more about that and the cycles as well, but I'm happy to reach out to you when I find out, because that's a good question.
That's a great question.
Okay.
I have a nutrition question. For macronutrients, if do you have any recommendations for like getting started and kind of tracking to see where you're at, as far as like favorite apps that you've used, or like would you recommend just shooting for certain proteins per meal, or like how would you get started to see how you're doing?
Yeah, well, like I didn't go into the calculations, but there's very certain calculations that we could do to figure that out. But there's also an app that I use. It's called Chronometer. I don't know if you've heard of it. I can write it down for you. But I like to take an average, like a 3-day diet journal from my clients, and you just input it into the system, and it comes up with each macro and each micro that you're getting on an average of like 3 days, or how many ever days you want to track it. And that kind of gives you an idea of where you are. So
That's super cool.
it's a super fun app to use, and it's surprising how much we're not getting, or like holy crap, I'm like 200% fats for the day and it's only breakfast. Like what? Chronometer, CRONOMETER, but I can write it down for you too. Yeah, that can kind of give you an idea of like where you're at, and you can change the percentages of the macros on there. Like if you're aiming to get, like you do want more protein throughout the day, you can kind of change that. So it'll figure that into what you're getting.
Oh, no, I have a question for you, Linz. And like you said, in general, I know it's super general, but like, 45% carbs, 35% protein, 20% healthy fats in our general macros. What if we're postpartum or post-surgery or trying to like recover from an injury? Is there a general bias that we would change, or is it too specific to say?
It's too specific.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's why I'm just like, that's a general rule that I like to start with. But yeah, if someone's like training for a marathon, or whatever the case is, like we can bump things up, or maybe they're just really low on their protein, or they're vegetarian, or like whatever. Just
it's just a good place to start.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, wait, did I have a question for you? What are the like statistics on pelvic floor issues and conceiving? Like I know that doing exercises can definitely help with the blood flow and everything, but is there a real statistic that reduces
gosh, and
chance of conception?
my phone that's recording us has the study on there.
Oh, cool.
But there's studies done on people that were having difficulty conceiving that then did pelvic floor PT in addition of manual therapy, and chances of conception increased. So if anyone wants that, just make sure you leave your email, and then when I start recording, I can send you those, just because it's neat to see, and it's not like, it might be a part of the greater issue as well. We talk a lot about stress management in pelvic PT as well, because stress is like the harbinger of doom for your pelvic floor. Stress also pulls you up to like the roof of the building. So perhaps the reason that it helps is that there is a little bit of holistic care as well. But that's a great question. And endometriosis, we didn't talk about that, but 1 in 10 ladies, periods are, I didn't even talk about periods. They're not meant to be painful, like at all. And then in endo, you miss work and school because your periods are debilitatingly painful. And I wish I could say that pelvic PT would cure endo. It doesn't, but it's a piece of the successful management. But if you have painful periods that are not quite to that level, PT can do a ton.
You mentioned the pelvic floor and having to get up to the night to pee and it affects your sleep. My question is, do you ever have male clients?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. And, this talk is more about women's wellness, but everybody has a pelvis. And, ladies, we kind of like own the pelvic floor space right now. Like, it is hip and cool to be aware of our pelvic floors and to be working on it. Men, this is like probably the one aspect in the world where they are 20 years behind the ladies. So for better, for worse, there is the equal incidence of pelvic problems among men, and they're not getting help. It's an average of 5 to 7 years for a woman that before she will bring up a pelvic complaint. And I think for a man, it's like 13 to 17 years. And ladies, if we go to a primary provider that's not well informed and they say, oh, leaks or prolapse is a consequence of aging, it's just because you've had babies, it's just because you have a uterus, it's just because you're menopausal. In men, they'll blame it on your prostate. And it's just, yeah, it could be. So it's really important to get that checked out. But all of the same problems with the pelvic floor. I actually, who's surprised that I have a model of the male pelvic floor? So here's the lady muscles, right? And this is the sacrum in the back and pubic bone in front. And this is the inside view. Okay, ladies and men are super different, right? Wrong. Here's the inside of the body parts, literally like the exact same parts. And men will have urinary frequency, urinary urgency, erectile dysfunction, because like to get an erection, the muscles that are at the base of the penis need to constrict to stop the blood flow, to hold the blood flow in. And if those muscles are up on the fourth floor in that wall sit all day long, they're not going to have energy to do that at night. So they could have trouble attaining an erection, maintaining it. They could have a lackluster climax. We could have a lackluster climax, but it's like if a man complains about it, it's like, oh no, it's an emergency. Here, take some medicine. But we complain about it and they say, oh, have a glass of wine. It's like, screw you, doctors. Sorry, I'm overgeneralizing. But we can all benefit from this. And as that quality of life is really important. And like Lindsay mentioned, the impact of sleep. Like there's some wicked studies. If you Google sleep deficit and injury risk scholarly, it's insane. Like 2 nights of lackluster sleep and your injury risk goes up 25%. Like it's unbelievably important. And we don't talk about it. We just say, oh, have an extra cup of coffee, and then we live this really frenetic life with poor nutrition and tons of caffeine. And then we look at Instagram all night. And I love Instagram, right? In its place. But we need to set that down at dinner time and come to the bookshop to hang out with friends and knit, and let the emotional settle back down. But yeah, have them call me. And I see clients in person and online, and I can also help whoever this is find a pelvic PT near them. Like this is just something, I have a really great blog about that, but I'm also happy people can message me, hey, I'm in this town, I'm willing to travel this far, this is what's going on. I'm happy to kind of match make.
I have one last question.
It's so fun.
Can stress permanently impact your pelvic floor?
An amazing question. I mean, yes, if you don't address any of it, but no, it's not nothing's permanently in the body. There's always a chance for improvement. But and it's we look at stress, and yes, we can really honestly look at our daily habits. And this is what I recommend. And I'm excited to check out this chronometer for the nutrition. Mm-hmm. But I will literally list out everything I do in my day, and what time do I wake up? What do I have for breakfast? How many times do I hit the snooze bar? And then next to that, is it a green check if it serves me and my body and the people I care about, or is it a red X? So if my alarm goes off at 6 and I'm super cranky and I turn it off 3 times, okay, that's a red X. There's a problem. If I'm intended to go work out, but I didn't because I was too tired, because I drank wine the night before, so I didn't sleep, it just kind of helps me say, what am I going to change to kind of fix this? So there's that piece, and then we can work on the pelvic floor. And then, we're all real people. I'm going through perimenopause right now. I am on progesterone, which is changing my life for the better. I probably need to work on my diet to further help with anxiety. Are there things that I need to do nutritionally to help with this anxiety? Is there medicine I need to go on? Like, postpartum depression is a real freaking thing. And we wouldn't just tell you, oh, you broke your arm. That sucks. It'll heal eventually. We're going to cast it. We're going to give you some support during that time. So if you feel like you're doing the right things and something isn't changing, like what else can we bring in to the lifestyle to help facilitate that change? And then it won't be a forever ruiner of your pelvic floor. I believe that everyone can always improve.
Mm-hmm.
An opinion on melatonin?
Yeah.
Like a natural one from, I know there are like a zillion different brands.
Yeah. Not a brand specifically, but I mean, definitely helps. I've actually never taken melatonin, but everyone that I tell to take it sees a huge improvement. You can also try like ashwagandha, kava kava, I think, as well. And then like lavender, chamomile tea, things like that.
And is there a time of day for those, or is it just kind of like a regular thing?
Like probably an hour before you go to bed.
Okay.
And any long-term or impacts that negative?
No, I feel like it's not something you want to be on forever, but if you can at least get your body back to just getting some really good sleep for a little bit, maybe, and then you can maybe taper off and then try herbal teas after that. Yeah.
Excellent questions, guys.
I have one more.
Yeah.
Sometimes coming to something like this is overwhelming, feeling like, okay, now I need to go to Girls and Bits tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, it's the worst. Yeah.
Sleep for 3 days. What do you, especially with supplements, how do you actually take them, and then as you're taking them at home, how do you notice if they're helping you? I don't know. It just seems a little blurry, and I've gotten into this a couple of times of like buying all these supplements and thinking it'll help and then forgetting.
Yeah, it just really depends on what you're actually buying. There's not a lot that you wouldn't be able to take together, but there might be a combination where you're like, I want to take this in the morning and this before I go to bed, just for optimal, absorption. And I guess again, it depends on what you're taking and what you're looking to improve. You may not really see a huge difference. You just know that you're doing what you should be doing and you're getting your optimal intakes. You might feel a huge improvement in your energy. You might be sleeping better. It just depends on what you're looking to take. And you're welcome to reach out to me and, kind of, instead of spending your whole paycheck at barrels and bins, just be like, okay, what do I really need? Or here's what I've been taking. Do I really need all of these?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a great question. You're not alone. We've all done it. Oh, anyone else? All right, well, I'll stop our streams. You all are welcome to come up and ask us more questions. You can check out the pelvises. I have some fun stickers, and our cards are here. So if questions comes up that you are embarrassed to ask or you think of later, don't hesitate to reach out to us, okay? Thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.